Bonjour tout le monde. Alors, me voilà avec une nouvelle nomination avec mon collègue Terry DeGood, donc le député de Winnipeg Sud. On va être co-chair de la campagne nationale. Alors, bien heureuse de la confiance que le premier ministre nous a accordée à tous les deux.
Sinon, on a-tu hâte aux prochaines élections, là?
En fait, non, c'est pas ça l'objectif. L'objectif aujourd'hui, c'est d'être prêt aux prochaines élections. À quel moment elles vont arriver, c'est pas à moi d'en décider, certainement, mais on doit être prêt.
C'est quoi le message derrière votre nomination? C'est quoi le message derrière ça?
Bien, je pense que le message et la nomination d'aujourd'hui avec mon collègue, c'est s'il y a quelqu'un qui doutait que le premier ministre va être candidat aux prochaines élections, bien, je pense que ça doit éliminer ce doute-là. Vous savez, moi, j'ai connu le premier ministre il y a très longtemps. Je l'ai connu au moment où il s'est présenté à la nomination de Papineau. Donc, à un moment où on ne le donnait même pas gagnant dans Papineau. Puis depuis ce temps-là, le premier ministre a toujours été donné perdant, à plusieurs fois, à plusieurs campagnes. Et moi, je suis convaincue qu'il va la gagner la prochaine. Puis moi, je vais être là pour l'aider à la gagner. Ce qui est quand même drôle, c'est que tous les deux, on fait de la boxe, puis on s'est tous les deux entraînés au même gym. Fait que je me dis qu'il y a peut-être quelque chose derrière ça, mais je vais être là pour me battre à ses côtés.
Alors, ceux qui disent, là, parce qu'il y a des rumeurs qui courent que M. Trudeau pourrait prendre une marche dans la neige cet hiver, vous dites quoi à ça? Vous?
Non, je lui dis de garder ses bottes pour faire d'autres choses parce qu'il va les occuper à aller rencontrer tous les Canadiens et Canadiennes parce que oui, il y a du travail à faire. Puis on doit faire ce travail puis être prêt à se présenter aux prochaines élections. Puis c'est exactement ça. Non, pas du tout.
Minister Hutchings says that Western Canada has to elect more MPs to have their concerns reflected by the government. Is that a message that you think is appropriate, and are you going to take that into the campaign?
I think what my colleague is saying and what a lot of people are saying is that you have a choice. You have a choice to vote for a party that wants to fight climate change and fight also the crisis of affordability, because both of them go together. And you want to fight for a party that believes in climate change. And I think that's what she meant.
How are you going to turn it around? My colleague from TVA, I think, was asking about the Prime Minister taking a walk in the snow like his father. How do you keep him going? How do you get the narrative going that maybe builds Canada back, that maybe gets people excited about voting Liberal? Because polls are...
Well, I'm going to tell you something about polls. The first time I got elected, the day I got elected, I was given 15 points behind on that same day. And I won by 328 votes. So campaigning is something, and I'm going to be honest with you, the Prime Minister is one of the best campaigners I've seen in all my life. And he knows there's a lot of work to do. And he knows that we have to go and see Canadians door by door and tell them what the choice they have. They have a choice. They have a choice to protect the progress that we have done in this country, or go backwards, and that's what the choice they'll have to do, and we'll have to, one, door by door, convince people that we're the best choice. Oui, excuse-moi.
Il y a quand même une vague de fond depuis plusieurs semaines, plusieurs mois, même au Québec, qui donne les conservateurs avec un certain élan. Ça, c'est nouveau, ça. Il y a quand même quelque chose de nouveau qui se passe.
Oui.
Au Québec, la montée des conservateurs, qu'est-ce que vous allez en faire? Comment vous allez lutter contre ça?
Je pense qu'il faut faire la nuance de la situation actuelle dans laquelle les gens sont. Il y a une frustration, il y a une anxiété qui touche plusieurs gens. Puis quand on est dans cette situation-là, je le vois moi dans mon comté, les gens qui arrivent à ma porte, là, puis qui pleurent, l'émotion, elle est présente, la douleur, elle est présente. Et dans ces moments-là, on cherche peut-être des solutions faciles. Des solutions qui sont faciles à comprendre dans des situations qui sont complexes. Puis je pense que ce qu'on veut leur proposer, c'est de dire, on vous entend, on voit, on sent la douleur, mais la situation est complexe et demande aussi des solutions complexes. C'est pas des slogans.
Vous êtes pas en retard sur la crise du logement dans votre réponse? Ça fait des
non, je suis pas d'accord avec vous. Moi, j'ai été secrétaire parlementaire au logement. J'ai travaillé dans le milieu dans le logement. J'ai moi-même contribué à créer 3 coopératives dans ma vie. Puis s'il y a une chose que je peux vous dire, c'est que le gouvernement fédéral est revenu sur le dossier du logement en 2015. En 2016, on a adopté la première stratégie de logement au Canada. Ça n'existait pas. On est le parti qui a mis en place une allocation au logement depuis le début. On n'est pas en retard. On essaie de rattraper un retard qui date de plus de 30 ans. Donc, aujourd'hui, est-ce qu'il y a encore du travail à faire? Absolument. Puis il faut le faire avec tout le monde. Aujourd'hui, ce qu'on n'avait pas avant, c'est que la crise du logement, ce qu'on vit au niveau du logement, tout le monde le vit, que ce soit la municipalité, la province, les organismes communautaires, même le privé. Aujourd'hui, tout le monde est à la table et ça va rendre les choses beaucoup plus faciles.
Avec tout ce qui se passe avec ces 18 méta et tout ça, est-ce que vous avez déjà une politique pendant la campagne, à savoir on ne va pas acheter de publicité à Facebook pour cette campagne?
Moi, ce que je peux vous dire sur ces 18, c'est que j'ai eu la chance de, quand j'ai été à Ottawa, quand je suis venue à Ottawa, j'avais fait la campagne de Mélanie Joly en Antique en 2015. Je suis venue à Ottawa et j'ai été sa chef de cabinet et sa conseillère associée. Puis, on a travaillé déjà à l'époque, on a commencé à travailler sur la question des GAFA, puis de la réforme de la loi sur la radiodiffusion. Et sincèrement, là, si on avait eu l'appui de l'ensemble du Parlement à ce moment-là, depuis ce temps-là, pour faire les changements nécessaires qui étaient importants, on se serait beaucoup plus loin aujourd'hui. Ceci étant dit, il y a plusieurs choses à faire sur la question des GAFA, puis ils doivent payer, ils doivent contribuer à notre système pour s'assurer de la survie non seulement de nos productions francophones, mais aussi de cette diversité qui est nécessaire à la démocratie, avoir un journalisme, avoir une production qui nous ressemble, puis qui parle et qui donne notre voix sur la scène internationale et aussi nationale. C'est super important.
Mr. Poilievre has had the momentum for months, so what has to be done to start turning that around?
Well, we're going to have to be ready. And ready means what? Getting candidates, getting MPs knock on doors, getting, our volunteers, donating money to the party, and making sure that we convince Canadians that we need, in the next election, protect the progress that we have built for this country. Thank you.
Have you heard if the Rafah closing is going to close permanently this coming Friday? That's something that we've heard from people on the ground.
We've not heard that. The situation is constantly fluid. I mean, it's a war going on. And Egypt is attempting to control the entry into Egypt, and we understand that it's their country. However, we're working very closely with Egyptians, with Israelis, with Qataris to get as many Canadians out as quickly as possible, given the fact that there's a war going on, given the fact that there is a constant changing in the situation, and it's not safe all the time for people to get out. So we're working on it.
And how has Canada helped any Canadians or Palestinians from Cairo? I understand there was a bus to Cairo. What about the situation of getting people home from there?
So our mission in Ramallah, in the West Bank, is key to this. They are engaged in it constantly. Our mission in Cairo has sent personnel right to Rafah, and they are getting people. They meet them there. They are attempting to find out all their needs and find out where they're wanting to go to. So then we assist them in whatever way we can to get them home from there, or for, they're Canadian citizens or they're permanent residents, so we're not exactly sure where each of them will want to go, but that's our goal, is to help them as we would any Canadian in trouble.
And so far, are you pleased right now with the situation on the ground? I understand that there was something that closed the border today, some security situation. How have you been finding the opening and closing of the border?
I've been monitoring the situation. We're getting reports every few hours, and the gates have been open and closed and open and closed, and it's unpredictable right now. So we will attempt to get as many Canadians through as quickly as possible.
Vous êtes parmi les libéraux qui avaient signé cette lettre adressée au premier ministre Justin Trudeau pour demander un cessez-le-feu. Il a réitéré la demande d'une pause humanitaire aujourd'hui. On a l'impression qu'il y a encore plus d'insistance. Qu'est-ce qu'on devrait faire à ce point-ci?
La pause humanitaire est tellement importante pour assurer que les gens qui habitent à Gaza reçoivent l'eau, des médicaments, et on peut assister les gens là. Le monde peut assister les gens là. Mais cette demande d'un cessez-le-feu est toujours là. et ça c'est une bonne idée en même temps.
Pensez-vous qu'il y a moyen de convaincre votre chef d'aller plus loin qu'une pause humanitaire?
On doit voir des choses et j'ai c'est faux.
De l'espoir.
De l'espoir. J'ai de l'espoir qu'on veut et j'ai de l'espoir qu'on veut aller. On veut.
Say it in English and I'll translate.
I have hope, strong hope that we will get to where we need to get to.
Vous avez espoir qu'on va se rendre là où on doit se rendre?
Oui, exact. J'ai l'espoir qu'on veut se rendre où on doit se rendre. Merci.
Merci. Encore une fois, aujourd'hui, Justin Trudeau a réitéré sa position par rapport à une pause humanitaire. On n'en vient toujours pas à un cessez-le-feu. Selon vous, là, on en est rendu là?
Bien là, je pense qu'après 4 semaines de conflit, avec 10 000 morts ou plus du côté de la population palestinienne de Gaza, nous, ça fait longtemps au NPD qu'on dit que c'est un cessez-le-feu qu'il faut et libérer les 243 otages, évidemment, qui sont détenus par le Hamas. Je pense que les grandes organisations internationales des droits de la personne demandent ça. L'ONU demande ça. Je ne sais pas pourquoi le premier ministre n'arrive pas à cette conclusion.
Merci.
About Alberta's health restructuring. Not least says that she has concerns that it's going to bring in more privatization. Do you have any of those concerns?
The sun, yeah. You don't want the sun right in your lens there. So I haven't had an opportunity to read the announcement. I'm aware of it. I obviously am going to take the opportunity to both look at it, and I've had with Minister Lagrange good conversations in the past. I look forward to having a conversation with her. It's essential that we protect public health care in this country. The Canada Health Act, which we have a responsibility to protect jurisdictionally, is very clear, and Canadians are very clear that we need to maintain our public system. So all of our conversations are going to be centered in that, but as I say, as this just broke today, I haven't had an opportunity to hear any more than sort of the top line of what's going on. So I want to dig into it a little bit more.
The Feds just gave transferred over the billions, and there was also talk about their concern they might be using that money for the restructuring.
Well, the bilateral agreement to which you refer to has not been signed yet, so we're still in negotiations on that. It's important to note the bilateral agreement ensures that everything that is done is additive to public care to improve 4 different priority areas that include workforce, creating better access to a family physician, and family health teams, as well as improvement of data and other issues. So any money that would go to Alberta would be for public health care and would be additive to what's already being done. But that agreement, as I say, we have an agreement in principle on the dollars, but we're still working out the details of what the actual agreement would be.
Okay, another topic, the Senator's report about psychedelic therapy for vets with PTSD, like medical mushrooms and EUA. Is your government looking to sponsor another study on that?
Well, look, I think that Minister Sachs, who's responsible, I work with her very closely on mental health and addictions, and I are both taking a look at the possibility of different options for how we deal with treatment-resistant depression, treatment-resistant PTSD. There has been some promising research in the area of psychedelics. It's extremely important to look at that research and its potential application in clinical settings. But that is something we continue to look at. It's not something I have sort of an additional announcement to make on at this point in time.
But given there's
Look, it's extremely important that Canadians abide by Canadian law and take products that are legal. We have one of the best regulatory systems in the world for protecting Canadians against harmful drugs, and Canadians should abide by the law. The approval process for any drug, no matter its category, is rigorous and has to be based on evidence, and nobody should get ahead of that. So, what I'm saying is there has been some promising work done in clinical settings. I I and I know Minister Sachs are looking very closely at that research. It's very encouraging. And again, that we would look at it, on a clinical basis, how it could be applied potentially to treatment-resistant depression, PTSD, and dependencies. But we are not at the stage where we are in any way looking at changing of Canadian law. Right now, we're looking at that research. By the way, as we look at any other research, to make sure that it's driven by data and positive health outcomes, and that we move through a rigorous process of approval. Okay, thanks so much.
Bonjour,
Can I just
Poilievre.
ask you a little bit about the Afghanistan National Monument? Very effective en français. Just what's your takeaway after a couple of hours of meetings? What's the issue?
The issue is mostly about the process. So the government, for the first time in Canadian history, they did not respect the choice of the jury. There's a professional jury, 7% wasn't that in a committee. So the day they announced the monument, they said to the winning team, they said to them, "Oh, you won it, but we take the other thing." So it's crazy. It's a breach in the process for public services.
I can't help but notice it was a Montreal, a Quebec firm that won,
yeah.
And this government gave it to an Alberta firm. And I wonder if you're of Montreal or
No,
Quebec
actually, I don't want to. It's not about Quebec or Alberta. No. Okay. It's mostly about the process. There's a breach there, and it's very important because it's for all government contracts. And then you have a jury to choose one project, one team, and the government, the minister, decide to choose the other team. It's not supposed to be. It's why we have some questions and we continue to push.
Cessez-le-feu versus pause humanitaire.
Mr. Soraya, do you have a moment just for a quick question? We've had multiple reports that India is asking for more security for Air India flights. Is that something that you've been engaged in or something that would impact your constituency?
I think, everyone wants to feel safe when they travel, and there has been some video that's floating around of somebody threatening Indian flights, and I think Minister LeBlanc has been apprised of that, and I'm hoping that our RCMP and other security agencies make sure that those flights are safe, and especially everyone going on those flights.
And what does this show overall about Canada-India relations at the moment?
I don't think it should affect anything in Canada-India relations. This is some individual in the U.S. that's saying this, so I think Canada has always put safety and security of the utmost importance, whether it's diplomatic security or the safety and security of Canadians, and we'll uphold that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you say to criticism from the opposition that the Public Health Agency lost $150 million in Medicago and wasn't up front about it?
Well, I think it's irresponsible. Let's remember back to the depths of the pandemic when we were all praying for a vaccine. The government did the responsible thing. We took a bet on all viable, scientifically probable options because we didn't know which winner there would be. Imagine the world the Conservatives are saying, where we should have picked one and guessed that it would have worked out. Imagine if we didn't make a bet on Moderna, or we didn't make a bet on Pfizer and AstraZeneca. What would have happened? We wouldn't have had vaccines for Canadians. So we knew when we made those bets, some of them wouldn't pan out. And that's because we're not clairvoyant. What the Conservatives are asking for is, a connection with psychics so we can know the future. We didn't have that back then. And so it's very easy now, in the comfort of our position, to look back at what worked out and what didn't and said that it's a waste of money to make those bets. But that's an irresponsible position.
I have two political questions for you. The first one is Mr. Zuberi, Mr. Housefather, got up with motions that were passed unanimously. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my words today. And Ms. McPherson wanted one about a ceasefire, which failed. What do you make of where we're at with that?
We're in a place right now where there is deep pain, and that I have had the opportunity to talk with people within the Jewish community, people within the Arab, Muslim, and Palestinian community who are hurting and hurting deeply. And that in this country we have to see one another's pain, and we have to be one another. In Canada, finding common ground is what has made us strong as a country. What we're watching happening in Israel and Gaza, the terrible terrorist attack, the horrible humanitarian conditions that are in Gaza, we can recognize both of those things. We can hold the pain that we're seeing. And I really want to commend both parliamentarians for standing and showing that there is common ground here. There is a way that we can work together and that we can build out for that. It is in seeing one another's pain and finding that common understanding that we can ask the world to similarly to find a path towards peace.
The final thing is the Prime Minister seems fired up today. He seems far more energetic than other times. Liberal benches seem a little more fired up. Is there a reason? I note the election co-chairs were announced today, but I'm just trying to, was it somebody he had for lunch? I don't know. After caucus?
Look, I think the country and the world is tired. And sometimes it's hard to find a different gear to fight for what you believe in. I challenge with that myself. You know, you wake up to really hard news and really big challenges for humanity. But there's always only one way forward, and that's to get up and give up all your energy that you have, believing that the world that we're in is going to get better, to fight for, outside of the moment we're in, for the world that we want. And sometimes in the heaviness of the world right now, we're missing the progress that's possible, the progress we're making on climate change, the progress that we're making in our healthcare system, the progress that we're making in research, not just in health, but in science and in everywhere. So I think sometimes we're reminded of the reasons to be optimistic and to believe and to remember that our cause is not a political one. It is not a cause that is bound by elections. It's a cause about the kind of world that we want. And when you're infused with that spirit, you realize you cannot lose. Because you may lose an election, but the cause of a better future for our country and for our world is one that we can never give up on, and we must apply all of our energy. And I'll just say that there were other very dark moments in this country where people felt hopeless and felt like the weight of the world was too much, and it felt to be too much to lift up. But they found their strength, they found their courage, and they were able to apply their energy to those moments. We must do so now, here, where we are.
Can I just ask you quickly again about COVID? Are you concerned that not enough Canadians are signing up for their vaccines right now?
I really want to encourage all Canadians. I'm going to be going and getting my own vaccination tomorrow, and I think it's incredibly important that everybody gets. This isn't a partisan issue. It is a miracle of science that we were able to find the vaccines that have saved tens of millions of lives across the planet, including hundreds and hundreds of thousands of lives here in Canada. So I really want to compel people, the new formulation that protects you against the latest variants of COVID, go get the opportunity to get that shot. It's so important, not just for an individual, but also to make sure that we don't wind up in a situation where our hospitals get overwhelmed. So let's take that action collectively, and I really hope that this can be an area where we can all agree, both to be grateful for the incredible science that brought us these vaccines, but also come together and say they're remarkably safe. We've seen hundreds of millions of doses around the world, and we've seen the positive impact that has. So I hope everybody gets their shot.
And one thing that we're hearing too is that in Ontario, some pharmacists are unhappy with the rollout there because Shoppers Drug Mart is the one that's in charge of all the distribution and it hasn't been going well. Is that something that you've been able to speak to either the Premier or your Ontario counterpart about?
Sorry, repeat that. I missed the Shoppers Drug Mart.
Shoppers Drug Mart in Ontario is the one that is in charge of the distribution. So some pharmacies, especially at pharmacies, they're saying that it hasn't really gone according to plan, or sometimes they receive shipments that don't have anything, so they're unhappy with the rollout. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're constantly in conversation with provinces and territories about how we can make sure that we have a seamless as possible rollout. Those conversations continue. Obviously, there are things that are outside of our jurisdiction, but you know, we had a really remarkable relationship with province and territories to be able to make sure that vaccines were available and people got what they needed. That has to continue. The vaccines are available in more than enough quantity for everybody to get them, and so we'll continue to work with provinces to make sure the rollout is as smooth as possible, and where there are challenges, we can work collaboratively with them to figure them out. Okay. Thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.